What I'd like to do is take you through how to fill out an 8610-2 form if you were applying for an original issuance of a senior parachute rigger certificate with a back type rating. And this is for the civilian version of the application. So the first thing I'll do in a Google search box is type in 8610-2 and then we'll see if we can open that form. The first page of the form is the privacy statement, and then we'll go on to the third page, which is the form itself, and I'll just make it a little bigger here so we can see it. Let's try that. At the top of the form on the left side you'll see it has boxes for repairman, mechanic, airframe and power plant. We're not interested in them, so leave them blank. Moving across then on the right side, we're going to indicate that you want to be a parachute rigger by putting an X in that box. The grade of certificate we want is senior, and I'm going to say we're applying for a back type rating. Moving slightly to the left you'll see a box, an area that says application for. We'll put an X in the original issuance box. That means you don't hold any ratings at this time, but you want permission to test for this one. Moving down into the name area, you're going to print your name first, middle and last. So here we go. Simon. I don't have a middle name, so for me I have to put NMN in parentheses. It means no middle name. Then my last name, Wade. If you are a junior, a senior, a second, a third, or whatever, you would put that now after your name. Also, if your name was initials only, let's say it was BJ Wade, I would put capital B, capital J, and then in parentheses initials only, and then Wade. That lets them know what's going on. Moving down to the Social Security number area, I'm going to put in this box here as soon as I can. Do not use. The FAA don't want to know your Social Security number. Moving over to date of birth, I'm just going to make one up for this form. The date has to be an 8-digit date, so no matter what the form says, any date on this form will have 2 digits for month, 2 digits for day, and 4 digits for year. There's really no point in you trying to do it any other way, as the form will simply get kicked back to you. So go with this format. Height will be in whole inches, so if I was 6 foot, I'd be 72 inches. Weight in whole pounds. There we go. For hair color, they have a certain set of hair colors they'll accept, and those are brown, black, blonde, grey, red, or bald. If you dye your hair, which I do, and very often it's purple, they want to know the original or natural color of it, so in my case I would write brown. For eyes, they will accept brown, black, blue, hazel, grey, or green. I'll go with brown. Sex can be abbreviated to M or F as appropriate. And then nationality, for the vast majority of applicants, if you were born in the USA or if you're a naturalized citizen, you would type in here USA. As you've probably noticed, I have a bit of an accent. I am from the UK, the United Kingdom. You could also, let's say if you were from Canada, you would write Canada in there. If you were French, you'd write France. Australian, Australia. You get the idea. Moving down to place of birth. Again, for the vast majority of applicants, you're going to be able to express this as a city and a state. In my case, it's going to be a city and a country, and this bit's made up. Lympstone, England. There we go. I'll come over now to the permanent mailing address area on the form here. The FAA, even though it says P.O. Box there, they want a physical address. So if you have a street address, that's what they really want to see. 709 Yucca Street, Unit B, Boulder City. And this is where we go from the normal format, as the next line is where we put the state, NV, and you can use standard abbreviations here, so Nevada, NV, and then the zip code, 89005. Moving down, area L. Have you ever had an airman certificate suspended or revoked? I'm going to go with no. If you answer yes there, it's possible you may not be able to test for a for a rating or a new certificate for up to 1 year from the date of the suspension or revocation, so you may want to check with your local Flight Standards District Office. Moving over, do you now or have you ever held an FAA Airman certificate? For those of you that are tandem instructors, that Class 3 medical that you have is a student pilot certificate. So I'll go with yes. Other things that you could put in there are air traffic controller, mechanic, private pilot, commercial pilot, etc. Or no, if you have none of them. The next line, N. Have you ever been convicted for violation of any federal or state statute pertinent to narcotic drugs, marijuana, and depressant or stimulant drugs or substances? If you have committed any of these crimes, you're going to need to acknowledge it with a yes and put the date of final conviction. As long as the conviction was more than a year ago, it is not grounds for a denial of this application. But if it's within a year, you're going to want to check again with your Flight Standards District Office, and they'll let you know whether or not you can test. There's no point lying about this. You need to acknowledge it, because if they ever find out, they can and probably will take your certificates off you. Plus, just the mere act of lying is a violation of federal law, and you'd probably get in some trouble for it. So just tell them. So I'm going to go with no. Moving down slightly, I'm going to use civil experience to claim this rating, and I'll now slide on down all the way to section 3, record of experience. We don't need to put anything in these boxes for a senior rigger application. We just have to put numbers or appropriate information in the amount of parachutes packed. I'm going to go with no seats, no chests, 20 backs, and no laps. You do not fill out this area for an application for senior parachute rigger, so go ahead and leave it. If it'll let you, you can put a date in this box, but it needs to be the date that you're going to meet with the inspector that checks this form. I found the program to be a bit capricious. Sometimes it'll let me, sometimes it won't, so let's give it a try. 03 03, and we'll say 2013. Great. Alright, it let me this time. I'll now scroll to the second page, or the back page of the application form. In the remarks area, the first thing you're going to want to put in there is whatever you're using as your ID. Typically you'd use a American driver's license. If you're using a government-issued photo ID from any other country, make it a passport. And the ID does have to be in date. So I'll go ahead and put Nevada driver's license, and then I'll make up a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you need to put the expiration date of that ID. So I'll make this one up 02 25 2020. Next thing you want to give them is a telephone number where they can get you if they have any problems. And then lastly, if you have one, an email. At this point you can review the form and then go ahead and print it. I'm now going to just go to one I have prepared earlier. go. On the front side of the form, let's see if we can get that to be a little bit clearer. There we go. On the front side of the form, where it said repairman, mechanic, airframe and power plant, you'll notice I've struck a line through them. And whenever you're using a pen on this form, make sure you use dark ink. As far as the FAA are concerned, that's blue or black. Don't mess with them, it'll just get your form kicked back. Moving over to the other side, I have struck a line through the areas I did not indicate before. So I'm not getting a seat rating, it's not a master, and it's not a chest and a lap rating. Great. Moving down the form. In the bottom, in section 4, I have printed my name. Again, I don't have a middle name, so I couldn't put an initial here, so I've put no middle name. If you have a middle name at this point, just put your initial there, and leave plenty of room so that you can sign this in the presence of an inspector. I've also put the same date as I did here for the inspector, and they will then print their name, and please have them include their initial if they have one, and then they'll sign in this box. You want to get at least 2 copies of this, ideally 3. When you come to test, you'll need to have 2 of them with you. Very often when you take a written test, the written test center will keep one of your originals. They're not supposed to, but they do, and that becomes a bit of a pain if you don't have an extra backup. One last thing, if you do not have the ability to print double-sided, so if you get a single-sided print, on the back page you would also need to include your name and your date of birth. That way they make sure that the correct back page stays with the correct front page. Very often you're best just taking this form to the FAA office and doing all the sign-in and dating with them so that they can do machine copies once they're happy with your original, and then you can sign the machine copies together. Well, I hope this was some help to you. I've no doubt that there are errors in here. Feel free to let me know what they are. You can send me an email at the email address you see on your screen. And if not, well, good luck with your test.